Welcome back
to the Wholesome Fucking Music Podcast.
We are the DIY podcast about DIY music.
That's right.
Do you remember our other tagline that we came up with last week?
We are the music's smallest podcast.
And with your help, we can stay a little less small if you would like and subscribe.
Help us grow.
If you join us every week, thank you. If you're new to the channel, we teach you. We talk about
The music industry,
creativity,
news,
and a little bit of like how-tos,
and a lot of AI.
So my name is Augustus Watkins. Oh shit. My name is Augustus Watkins. My pronouns are he, she, or they. I am a musician, a songwriter. I'm in the music industry as a record label co-owner, and we do artists and label services under the name of Cocaine Opera. If you're in the music business and you want to kind of take your shit a little bit further, you can reach out to me and we can help you do that.
Yes. My name's Cam LJ. You're here with us at Secret Spot DTLA. We're downtown Los Angeles' co-working space for creatives. I'm a producer, songwriter, videographer. I do all the things, so I'm a multi-hyphenate. My pronouns are he, they, or she.
You really do all the things.
I do all. I'm the multi-hyphenated fool.
The thing about it, like between us, there's like not a lot that hasn't.
If you hire us as a team, it's over. You're done. You got all of it. You checked all the boxes.
Yeah, you could pretty much take care of your needs. So we're starting a new segment, Cam.
We are.
We have this idea of the history of recorded music.
That's right.
You want to kind of talk about what that is?
I mean, it's the history of music that's been recorded.
Right.
But we're going to cover all the way back to like 1850.
Yeah.
We're going to go all the way forward to like 2026.
Yeah.
We're going to cover mastering. We're going to cover microphones. We're going to cover compression, and we're going to cover EQ. We're going to give you a deep dive so you actually know what those things are, where they came from, where they started. And we're going to show you. We're going to put it in context so it feels real.
So, and the point of this is because this format doesn't really lend itself to doing like deep dives in terms of
this is not a tutorial.
Right. We're not doing, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. We're not doing tutorials, but with the knowledge we're going to drop on you, when you do tutorials, and we know you're going to, and we really encourage you to. You should. The context that we're going to give you here is going to help you understand the tutorial, or if you're communicating with other professionals, or you got a gig and you're working somewhere, like this stuff will help you to understand why people talk about the things they talk about, why people do the things they do.
We're going to give you some tools that you can keep on your toolkit and use. The thing that this is all about is giving you the history. So we're not necessarily going to deep dive into how do I put a plugin in my session. We're going to give you the history that maybe you can't find other places.
Yeah. After that, we've got a big name in the music industry who has shown up in the Epstein files.
That's right.
We're going to talk about that and kind of what some of the artists who are connected to him are talking about.
It was kind of a wash.
Nice. And then we do get into goddamn AI.
Oh, that's right. We can't make it a week without it. Well, we have once in a while.
Every once in a while,
once in a while, we slide through.
But not this week, y'all.
Nope. We got hit by the AI bubble.
We did. There's some news about Universal and Suno. They're in a PR battle. We're going to kind of talk about that and the signals that it sends about where the industry's going.
Who's going to survive? Is it going to be Udio? Is it going to be Suno? Is it going to be nobody?
Or is 11 Labs going to come up from off the top rope,
off the rip,
and take them all out when we least suspect it? I think we're beginning to continue to see the kind of the
development in the space,
like the dividing lines in the industry and how this is going to shake out.
Can you download? Can you not download?
We're going to get into all of that, and is there anything else we need to say?
We're going to get into a whole bunch more too.
Yeah. So I think with that, welcome to episode 33 of the Wholesome Music Podcast.
That's right.
Please like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Okay, so we are introducing a new segment.
We are.
We're gonna do we're gonna do this over multiple weeks.
We're gonna do this like we did it before.
Yeah. So people who've kind of followed us now, have been with us now, we did our How Musicians Get Paid series.
That was kind of a banger.
We did it was like 4 or 5 parts or something like this. This is going to be another 4 or 5 parts.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about broadly speaking, we're going to talk about the kind of the history of recording technology.
We're going to talk about the history of recorded music. We're going to talk about how the sausage gets made.
And the reason we're doing this is because like this we want to talk about this. Like, this is the Wholesome Music Podcast, but we are creators. There's a lot of DIY people in our audience. But this format, like two people in a microphone, isn't necessarily the best format for like deep dives into like how to mix, how to master.
Yeah.
So instead, what we thought we would do is kind of give you a little more broader context.
Yeah.
Into like the history of these things,
Mm-hmm.
because understanding, even like in our conversation over on that couch over there,
Yes.
as we're like prepping this thing, it was actually like, even that little bit was like kind of like I made some mental connections that I'm already going to use in my like own work.
Yes, new pieces for the toolbox.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is offer you kind of some insights and some context and some backgrounds, and then you're going to take this, and when you're on YouTube watching a how to mix tutorial or a Logic tutorial or Pro Tools tutorial, whatever you're doing, or you're on TikTok and you get fed a gain staging compression thing.
Yes.
What you're going to learn here over the next couple of weeks is going to give you just a little bit more background and a little bit more context for you to apply to however it is that you mix. So what we're going to teach you is like about, you can apply to any DAW, like any, basically, and whatever, like whether you are working in like a big old studio.
We're going to take you all the way back to the beginning and give you all the tools you need to make it work, not just now, not just in the future, but forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, if you time travel back in the past in the 1940s, you'll still have
you'll still understand how to use these tools we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about compression. We're going to talk about EQ. We're going to talk about microphones. We're going to talk about mixing and mastering, and we're going to deep dive into each one to give you that sense that you understand the history,
that context.
The context.
So today we're going to talk about the history of mixing and mastering.
Oh, I'm excited.
So I think first of all, and like this is the one I think that is the most instructive to understand the history, because a lot I get asked a lot. I'm sure you get asked a lot. What is mastering?
Yeah.
Do you want to start with that, or should we back up and?
I can answer it really quickly, but I think I'll tell you the answer really quickly, or what I think of as the answer, and then we can kind of dive deeper into the history so that we have the context for it. But when I think of mastering, I think of like, this is the last stage of your project. This is after you're done recording. This is after you've bounced your mix, after you've sent it out into a 2-track form, into just one stereo file. That's when mastering happens. Mastering is your last chance to change your song's sonic profile at all. That means your last chance to make the song translate so that it can be played on the iPhone, sound good, play in your car, sound good, play on the studio monitors, sound good, play anywhere and sound good in all of those different environments. And it's your last chance to have that song be brought all the way up to a standard radio level, like post loudness wars. We're really bringing it up and making it wide.
Yeah, so I think like that's key. So this is it's post mix. Mastering is after mixing. We're going to get into what mixing is and what it isn't, and what mastering, specifically what mastering isn't, because mastering is not mixing. Although these days the line can be blurry.
It can be really, you think of like stem mastering. People talk about that. People talk about, I'm mastering, but just send me your session. That adds convolution, adds like confusion to the conversation. But for the most part,
mixing is like, what I like to say is that mixing is preparing the song for like within the context of itself,
preparing each individual track. So making any changes you need to each individual track. That means dealing with your vocals separately, dealing with the drums, the kick sound, dealing with the snare, dealing with the guitars, and dealing with how each of those tracks interact with each other together. That's all mixing.
Yeah. So there's like how my songs, like within the context of one song, how everything kind of relates to itself, because every single song you mix is different. Even if it's the same setup and the same band and the same players, the song is different. You just are different, right? So you mix every single song. That's once it's done mixing, you are been preparing that for mastering. What mastering is you're preparing it for physical distribution, right? Because, and this is what I think we'll get into the history of it. Should we start with the history of mastering?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because what you're doing, because you have to remember that the history of mastering is tied into the history of recorded music distribution, which had a lot of specific physical limitations.
Yes, it did. And still does.
And so today, it's like, you can kind of make a file sound like anything and throw it up on DistroKid and get it up on Spotify. In the old days, there were especially with vinyl, there are really, really specific limits to things you just like can't. do to like you if you have two, like for instance, stereo bass in vinyl, your bass needs to be in mono or else the needle jumps.
Yeah, or else it's gonna displace the needle.
Physically unplayable. That's what mastering is about, is getting your music ready to be like physically played based in the medium that you're sending it to. So there really was no such thing as mastering in the early days of recording. We're gonna kind of get back. Remember these markers of times, because we're going to come back to these over and over and over again.
For us to really start this conversation, we need to talk about like the history of recorded sound.
Yeah.
And that brings us, like, just so we have context, we're starting in like 1850.
Right.
That's when we're first starting to have like any kind of device that can hear sound and reproduce that, whether that's going to a speaker or going to some recorded source, which is definitely not ready in 1850. But in 1850, we might see like certain like microphones that would help with telephones or the radio.
Yep. Or I think you get to like the very early days of direct to wax in those days. So basically, it's like from the 1800s to like the World War II,
1930s,
early 1940s. You have this kind of era where basically everything is recorded direct to disc.
Yeah.
So you weren't,
but not a CD. Let's just be
not
to disc. We're not thinking like a CD disc. Yeah. We're not thinking a mini disc. No, what are we thinking?
We're thinking basically a piece of vinyl, somewhat like you think of it, but wax of some kind.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So and for the most part in those days, there was no like that was the recording, right? There was no tape that you were going to then manipulating it. You weren't going to do a DAW, obviously.
Cut it, redo it.
You were like literally like this microphone would be literally connected to a machine that would just be picking up the vibrations and directly
needling
cutting
it down.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so there was no editing. There was no mixing or mastering. It was just recorded as it hit, and that was a recording.
That was the idea.
In the late 1940s, this is where the next big revolution comes, which is magnetic tape. So
yes,
this is where you can record to tape. You can then manipulate the information contained on those tapes. And then manufacture it later.
Yes. And you can do more manipulation than you could before. You couldn't really cut things apart or put them together before magnetic tape.
Right.
There was no way to do that.
So you could store this on a tape and again, this isn't like the cassette tapes.
We're not thinking reel to reel tapes yet. We're thinking like an actual magnetic piece of a strip.
These are giant tapes.
Kind of similar. If you're not able to visualize this, think about those reel to reel movies.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you would see a big, huge reel. This isn't that, but it's kind of like that. So you can have it in your mind.
So this is where we get from like you can store on tape, you can do some manipulation, and this is where the beginning of what we now consider mixing and mastering comes in. Then this brings us to the 50s through 70s, where we get basically this is the revolutions about multi-track tape.
Over the series, you'll see there's a lot of development that happens in this time period.
Yep.
Between the 50s and the 70s, a lot of the modern music devices that we think of and use in the studio, they came during this time period. Yep. So if you're going back, you're looking at the Neumanns, the Universal Audios, you're looking at the Teletronics, you're looking at all of these names, they go back to this period.
Yeah, basically, in a lot of ways, all we're doing is kind of chasing what they had figured.
Chasing the hype from this moment.
Yeah. So you could, with respect to mixing and mastering, this is where you have multi-track mixing. So this is where you could begin to like do some kind of like all right, like, so one track would maybe be the drums. And so now you could like, all right, I'm going to boost we'll talk about all this in more detail, but I'm going to boost the EQ on these drums.
Yes.
And
we started to have these devices too. The EQ started to be available in music to be able to do that, to be able to like boost certain frequencies and make things feel different and sound different than they were when they were initially recorded.
And then you could combine all of that into a mix, and then that's a mix that's on some kind of form of magnetic tape. And then this is going to get distributed then this is going to get distributed on vinyl.
So that's another thing we should touch on with mastering. One thing that makes mastering so important in this time period that we're talking about, between like the 40s and the 70s, the 50s and the 70s, is reproduction.
Yeah.
So there was the original copy.
Yep.
That is your master copy.
Right.
The master copy is the finalized version of the song that will then be reproduced, make another album, make another LP, make another whatever the physical media source was always replicated from the master. That way they all sounded the same.
Right.
You didn't have like, oh, well, this take was when we did this or when we did that. They're all the same. So the master is the final version that then gets reproduced.
Right. And that's like, I think this is why like I wanted to do this regarding mixing and mastering, because this is like right there. That's the juice, right? Like we mixed the song, we got it onto magnetic tape. Now we're going to prepare this we're going to master this, meaning we're going to prepare the final master disc.
Yes.
And so like this is, it does involve changing the sonic qualities, but the point of this is that this is the master from which everything else will be reproduced.
This is the final one. Everything from here is just getting cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, reproduce that final version.
So it has to do, there's a musical component to it clearly, but what we're really talking about when we're coming down to mastering is like, it's a manufacturing issue.
Yes, absolutely. Which is why when we talked about royalties, why it has its whole own side of the pie.
Exactly.
Like this is where all that comes from. When we're talking about these laws that were created around that time period, they're built for this. They're built for the fact that someone owns your original master.
Right.
Who owns that first copy?
Right.
Who owns the first one?
Who owns the master? So when we talk about like Taylor owning her masters, it's like this is like literally, it's like this is the final thing which would get reproduced.
Exactly.
Super important. And then basically from the 80s until today, it's the story of computers and just like it's like computers are the big thing, but like what we're doing in computers is still based on what we figured out in the 50s and 70s. So it really, from there, it's incremental changes.
There's only really one big iteration change that I think happens in that time period around the 80s and 90s. And that is, and I think you kind of talk about this too, is the loudness wars.
Yeah.
Like right around the 80s, we get to this period where previously, like the point of mastering wasn't exclusively to make it louder. It was to deal with issues, to deal with problems, to deal with, okay, when we print this, we don't want it to pop off to make the needle pop up. We don't want it to like create problems playing for the end user. By the 80s, we have all this technology, all of these tools. And so what you would start to notice is some of these big bands from the 80s, you would listen to them on the radio, and some of their songs would be really fucking loud.
Yeah.
And then other songs would be just as great, but they would be a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
And so there was this moment in like the 80s, late 80s, mid 80s to early 90s when it was like, yo, we got to make it the loudest.
Right.
We want to turn our song up as loud as it can be without clipping.
Peak loudness war tends to be thought of as like late 90s into early 2000s. And have you ever had, so for those of you who are old enough to remember CDs, do you remember having any CDs? Because this is like prime CD era for me.
Yes.
Do you remember getting a CD and like no matter how much you turned it up, you still like, it was so loud, but it was never loud enough at the same time?
I do recall a few of those CDs.
And that was loudness war, where things were, the idea of being that, and this is actually probably important for mastering, is that like the idea of one of the things with modern mastering and loudness is that we do tend to kind of perceive louder music as better.
Yes. And loudness perception is different too. So it's different. We hear different frequencies more than we hear other frequencies. So your ears, or all human ears, are going to be most attuned to those frequencies around 1 kilohertz. So all of the other frequencies, you kind of think of as smiley face curve, you're just not perceiving them as much. So you might turn the bass way up, but you might not feel it as much as if you were to turn, say, the vocals sitting at 1K way up. You're going to hear that way more. It's going to, even though you turn them up the same number, you're going to hear one more than the other. So those things I think play into this same conversation of mixing and mastering, and how do we treat our song so that it translates the best to every listener.
So that's the brief history of mastering. And so I hope now you people watching and listening have a little better understanding of what is mixing and what is mastering. And at the point where we started to, just to recap, at the point we started to mix, that was always, you were mixing a self-contained unit of a song to itself.
Yes.
You were collecting 1 to 12 of those songs together, and then you were preparing them to manufacture.
Yeah.
At that point, you were getting all those songs. That's where that mixing would convert to mastering?
Yes. Yeah. You could master you would master the entire project as one, or master the individual song as one master. You could do both. Sometimes both happen. So if you were like releasing a lead single first, you might master the lead single alone on its own, release it as a single, and then remaster the whole album with that single inside of the master.
So do songs, so that's the kind of brief history. Do songs nowadays, now that we know this, I'm an artist. I'm not gonna mix a song, or I'm not making a song that's ever planning on going to vinyl. If I ever get to that point, I have the stems. I have my sessions. I can assess them at that point. So if I'm making a song, I know I'm just going to distribute it digitally. Do I still need to master it?
Yes.
Why?
I would say, so it's really, do you need to master it is a really tough question for 2026 because you have so many tools available to you. You can run it through Ozone. Is that mastering? Is Ozone mastering? Yes, Ozone is mastering. Anytime you put a limiter, whether it's just the L2 limiter and you turn it all the way up to 1, you've done a shitty master, but you did master your song. So yes, I think mastering is valuable. And I think it gets more and more valuable the more you're going to get out of your release and the more places it's going to go. So I think the most valuable thing that you can do for mastering in 2026 is, even if you're a small artist, you're not planning to send to vinyl, send to someone who's working in a different room than you are.
Totally.
Send to someone, whoever masters your song should master it on a different system than your system. That means different monitors in a different room. So they hear a different perspective. So your song has a better chance to translate across multiple rooms. And often the value of paying a mastering engineer is all the gear that they're going to have that's specific to mastering. When we talk about mastering now, we're talking about mastering specific equipment. We're talking about true mastering suites. We're talking about a build out. We're talking about custom rooms built out with like gear. We're talking about building out Dolby Atmos rooms. We're talking about things that if you have your home studio, you don't want to invest in. You don't want to do. No. Send it to the person who that's all they do. That's the value in 2026 of mastering, is to have one person to listen to it and have listened to 100,000 other songs and say, now it sounds like everything else.
If your budget was really limited, and so you knew you could either do kind of a basic bitch mix and an expensive master, or an expensive mix and a basic bitch master.
Expensive mix every time. Expensive mix every time. Your mix gives you so much more control. Like if you send me your master, your finalized mix, and it sounds like ass. I can make it sound like good leveled ass,
right?
But I can't really change, like I can't tune your vocals,
right? But if I send you stems,
then I can go and tune each vocal stem. I can go and change the volume of the guitars. Let's say you got a kick drum that just sounds terrible. I can go in and switch that out if I want to, But once you send me that stereo wave file, I'm not going to be able to make those changes. We can talk another time about stem splitting and recovering and stem mastering and like, okay, if you send me this to master and it's not quite there, how do we work with it and fix it? There are still things you can do that kind of blurs our line, but for the most part, put your money in the mix and then have that master just sit on top and help everything come together.
Okay, so I hope this little background into the history of mixing and mastering is a good start. We've got coming up. So next week we're going to discuss, I believe the plan is to discuss the history of microphones.
Yes.
The week after that, the plan is to discuss the history of compression, and then the history of EQ. We might change the order around.
We might switch it out a little bit,
but that's the idea. So because I think if you understand what mixing is, what mastering is, if you understand how microphones work, how compression works, which is so important,
so pivotal,
and then you understand how EQ works, like basically, like you're
ready to mix.
You
have the tools in your toolbox to make a banger.
So stick with us, and if you aren't subscribed, subscribe now to get us in your feed, because we're gonna hit you with this for at least 3 more weeks.
We're gonna hit you with this, and you should hit us with the like button.
That's a fair exchange.
We're here.
We're
doing it.
And you know who's not here?
Bad Bunny.
No, he's not.
We couldn't get him. We really wanted to bring you guests for 2026, but I just couldn't get a hold of Bad Bunny. His people, they said they would call me back, but they never called me back.
So the next best thing we have is a couple of statements about Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, wow. He's here?
He's always here with us in spirit.
I heard that he didn't die in prison. There's a conspiracy going around.
Oh, yeah?
That he escaped in the blankets, like they pulled him out the prison. It was a whole plan.
Because you are right now, as we speak, pretty deep in the Epstein conspiracy
I'm as
world.
deep. I'm like in the quicksand where they're like, help me get out. And I'm like, oh, I'm in it. Leave me to die.
So we're going to talk about, we're not going to get into that. Although I do think it might just happen.
It might naturally creep its way in.
What I wanted to talk about is
no pun intended there.
Okay. Nice. You heard it here first, folks. Creep it in. We're going to talk about Casey Wasserman, who's the founder of the Wasserman Agency.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, boy.
So we've talked many times about Wasserman. They are a big agency. It might be useful for you to explain what is an agency?
An agency does the things a manager can't do. Like, plain and simple, an agency is going to be responsible, at least in California, it's going to be responsible for booking, is going to be responsible for certain aspects of your business. And like, the agency is doing the work. Agencies are generally more powerful than an individual manager could be because they have enormous rosters.
The point of an agency is like largely, it's like they find you work.
Yeah. They find you the work, and there are just certain things that, like, at least in California, that you can't do as a manager. So agencies really take over that role. Yeah. They help you manager helps you at work, but not in the way that an agency can.
Managers, like, once you have work, then your manager manages it.
Exactly.
So this Wasserman Agency is a big, like, we talk about, like, they're the agency that tends to be the, like, most represented at, like, Coachella. They have
Wasserman was the biggest this year, weren't they? At Coachella?
At Coachella, they're the biggest this year at the Grammys.
There's Wasserman, there's WME. Who else is there?
I don't actually know. That's a great question.
There are a number though. There's Wasserman, there's WME, there's Creative. What is it? Creative CCA. California Creative Agency.
Yeah.
And there are a couple more, but those are the big ones, the big ones.
So I will start with this. What I want to do is we're going to get into a couple of statements released by a couple of Wasserman clients. But first, I would like just to kind of show. To back up. So Wasserman was in the Epstein files. He had in the early 2000s. He had a relationship with Jelaine. And he has sort of, like, the way I read the story, I could be wrong, you can correct me. The way I'm reading this story is like he's he did some, like, seeming perhaps like the veneer of legitimacy about, like, doing some charity events. He's like, I was involved in some stuff in the early 2000s. I was like it was me and the Clintons and some people, and, like, so we happened to use Epstein's plane for some shit. His argument, at least, is like, I had a relationship with Jelaine that was like 20 years ago. I did some work that happened to involve Epstein, he doesn't.
We were hanging out, but we weren't hanging out.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I probably stopped by but I didn't spend time on the island. I was there, but I wasn't there.
And he's not even going that far. So, like, Chappell Roan is expected to leave Wasserman. Billie Eilish left a year ago over the revelations that the CEOs.
So this is having an impact.
Yes, exactly. And so there's a few agents specific agents who work for the agency, including Duffy McSwiggan and senior agent Marty Diamond and several others who represent big name acts. Joni Mitchell, OK Go, Lake Street Dive, Coldplay. They're threatening to. They've basically given an ultimatum. They're saying Wasserman, the person, needs to sell the music. Sell off, like, disinvest himself from his agency, and the agency needs to change its name.
That would be crazy. Just one of these guys is responsible for Ed Sheeran, Coldplay, Lorde, Louis Vuitton, like, and the list just goes on. We're talking about enormous names, a huge impact on the modern music industry.
And then, of course, the thing about Casey Wasserman that is, like, the reason this actually kind of went over my head is because when they talk about him now, and, like, they're like, oh, Casey Wasserman, he's also the chair of the LA 28 Olympics.
Oh, wow.
So there's been pressure to, like, get him off of that.
Wow. I think there's, like, a Wasserman building.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's, like, Wasserman Impact in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Really quickly, just a quick correction. I said CCA. It's actually not CCA. It's CAA, the Creative Arts Agency, WME, United Talent Agency. And those are the big three. So we got WME, Wasserman, CAA, and UTA.
Okay. So what I kind of wanted to do now was to read two different statements from two different artists who are currently on Wasserman's roster.
Okay, who do you got?
And I think this will be a cool jumping off point to discuss the complexities of like dealing with these big ass names, what we can do and what we can't do as little tiny artists. Okay, so the first statement, this is from Bethany Cosentino. She's from Best Coast.
Okay.
The band Best Coast. My name is Bethany Cosentino. I'm quoting, obviously. I'm a singer-songwriter, an activist, a mother, and the front woman of the band Best Coast. I have been represented by Wasserman Music since its expansion into music in 2021. It has come to my attention that the founder and CEO of my agency, Casey Wasserman, had a documented romantic relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell between the years of 2001 and 2003, and multiple documented connections and communications with Jeffrey Epstein confirmed by emails now part of public record. Ghislaine Maxwell is not a neutral character in a messy story. She is a convicted sex trafficker who helped facilitate the abuse of minors. As an artist represented by Wasserman, I did not consent to having my name or my career tied to someone with this kind of association to exploitation. Staying quiet isn't something I can do in good conscience, especially in a moment when men in power are so often protected, excused, or allowed to move on without consequence. Pretending this isn't a big deal is not an option for me. Casey's response that these emails are deeply regretted is not enough. Regret without accountability is just damage control, an attempt to move on while the rest of us are expected to sit with the discomfort of our careers being publicly tied to him. Artists are tired of swallowing scandals like this. We are tired of learning over and over that men who control access, resources, money, and so-called safety in our industry are given endless grace. We are tired of being asked to treat proximity to something horrific as an unfortunate situation we should simply move past, especially when the person still involved holds all the power. And we are tired of watching harm minimized or brushed off as a, quote, a long time ago, while the impact of that harm is still very real, especially for women and survivors of sexual assault. This letter is my public refusal to accept that this is just how things are. It is a refusal to continue lining the pockets of people so closely tied to shady business and toxic, deeply harmful people. I do not want my name, this is continuing the quote, by the way, I do not want my name on the website of a man who was ever a personal friend or an accomplice to a literal pedophile or associated with Jeffrey Epstein himself. I have worked with my agent, Sam Hunt, for over 15 years, who has done incredible work in representing me. I am in the Sam Hunt business. I am not in the Wasserman business. I've asked to remove my name and band's name from the company's site. The position Casey Wasserman has put his agents in is inexcusable. This is a call for him to step down and a change of business name be imminent. Just a couple more paragraphs. I know this is long. Artists are not interchangeable assets. We are people. Many of us are women. Many of us, myself included, are survivors. We deserve systems that let us work without asking us to compromise our values in exchange for opportunity. I'm speaking out because pretending this is normal isn't normal, because people in power can't keep skating by, and because the artists keeping the lights on at Wasserman deserve support, not to be ignored while men in power are protected. It is important for us as artists to remember, these people work for us, not the other way around. End quote. And I do have that full statement. I'll have a link to that full statement.
I do think it's a really beautiful quote to end on, which is, they work for us and we don't work for them, because in this industry, it's very easy to feel like you work for the label or to feel like you work for a manager, to feel like you work for an agency, anybody like this.
You work for any gatekeeper, it feels like.
It feels like that. But it's good to remind ourselves that actually, no, these people are taking 10% from us. And they work for us. Holy shit. What a fucking beautiful revelation to have. I wanted to note this as well. Best Coast, they did the Scooby-Doo theme song.
Okay.
I didn't realize that, but that's like a big deal.
Yeah. And that's a moment. Going back to like, that's the kind of thing that like oftentimes a manager would get you booked on.
Of course. Yeah. I feel like that's absolutely
a
Wasserman
it's connections, but sometimes it's like, you know,
that seems like a gig.
Yeah. Okay. So now this one isn't as long. This is from Alexis Krauss from Sleigh Bells.
Before we jump into that, this whole situation just reminds me of something, which is, do you remember the Taylor Swift, Scooter Braun situation? You don't?
No.
Okay, Scooter Braun was the one who owned and purchased her masters.
Oh, okay.
Scooter Braun also managed Justin Bieber, managed a bunch of people.
Okay.
Scooter Braun, a notorious asshole.
Okay.
Notorious asshole. And just associated with, okay, I'm going to say this allegedly. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Scooter Braun was chilling with Diddy, chilling with, Scooter Braun was out here.
Yeah.
Scooter Braun was problematic. And it was just one of these things where so many people wanted to distance themselves from him, where it was like, oh, I don't want to even be associated with this man. Like, and I get Scooter Braun energy.
Like this. I'm
getting that energy.
Yeah, where it's just like, look, like you, even if you did do something wrong 20 years ago, it's like, I mean, the one I think about, I had saved this, but like I think about like Janet Jackson and the way like she went from playing the Super Bowl to like accidentally or not accidentally like exposing a breast, a nipple at the Super Bowl.
The nip slip. I remember this.
Nipplegate, right?
Yes.
And they tanked her career
over
it.
God, yeah.
And so I was like, it's like, so like this dude, like, so it's like, well, why should I get like, why should I get residual damage over something I did 20 years ago? It's like, well, look, people get residual damage for things that they did that happened to them or were associated with all the fucking time.
Wow.
And so like, I just think like, yeah, like I think she said it really well. Bethany Cosentino, where it's like, like your proximity to this just is gross. These people weren't just like, this wasn't like an unfortunate thing. Jelaine wasn't just like happened to be around. Like she's a fucking sex predator.
Yes.
These are like evil fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, yeah. And you were like palling around with them. So like,
that's not acceptable. You can't be doing that.
So the other side of this, is from Alexis Krauss from Sleigh Bells, also represented by Wasserman. Now they have announced that they will not leave the company. And so this is their quote, not as long, but I'm going to read it in entirety. Last week, we were among the hundreds of artists who were aghast to find out about Casey Wasserman's communications with Ghislaine Maxwell that were made public in the latest release of the Epstein files. We feel it's urgent that we make several things clear in the aftermath. We stand with all survivors of sexual abuse and human trafficking. We have never met or communicated with Casey Wasserman, not once. We find Casey's attempt to deflect and dismiss the situation deeply troubling. It's also important that we acknowledge the team of people we work with at the Wasserman Agency as decent and trustworthy people with whom we've worked with for several years, dating back to a time prior to their connection with Wasserman. Given the circumstances, we feel strongly that we need to begin the process of extracting ourselves from Wasserman. Continuing to be represented by a company led by and named after Casey Wasserman goes against our values and cannot continue. For the sake of his staff, we hope that he steps down from his company and it is rebranded. But until that happens, or we find a new home at an agency, we will not continue to be associated with Wasserman. They're saying we're not associated with Wasserman, but we're also not leaving until we can.
Yeah,
we're not just like.
Well, I mean, this will put you in a really shitty situation. This is going to put you like against a rock and a hard place because you don't want to be out with no management. You don't have no representation. This is going to be a disaster if you leave. Also, this is such a relationship based business.
Yeah,
I'm curious if Wasserman can survive.
Well, that's interesting, right? It's because we as we said, a lot of their high profile big name
are leaving.
They're threatening to leave.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying they feel they have.
I don't feel like it's empty. This is not an empty threat time period.
Yeah.
I think they're looking for someone to say, yeah, absolutely. You want to get out of your contract? I mean, this might be a great situation for, there's a woman whose name I'm going to forget, but she's amazing. Wendy. And I think her name is Wendy Day or Wendy. Yeah. And she does amazing work pulling people out of contracts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a Wendy Day situation.
Yeah.
You got to get her involved to pull you out of your contract because I bet a lot of people would love to have a lot of other agencies. I bet WME is sitting here like, nom, 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 nom.
Yeah.
Would love to eat all these people up. I bet United Talent Agency is thinking the exact same thing, thinking, I would love to eat all of these people up and add them to my roster.
Yeah, like let's get these agents involved so that all their talent comes with them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get these artists on with our existing roster.
Let's do both.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do both. Let's get both let's get all of the agents and all of the talent to come over to us. And I don't know. I don't know if they'll make it. I genuinely wonder, it's already a very consolidated industry.
Yeah.
Will they make it through this?
Mm-hmm. I think that we're going to see probably some high profile shakeups where some of these people are going to start their own agencies as well as go off and join other ones. And so I think I would be shocked if Wasserman survives this
scandal.
And I would be shocked if it survived because it's like, here's this dude now, he's chairing the LA 28 committee. Mm-hmm. So it's like, he's very high profile right now.
Yeah.
The Olympic Committee has basically said for now they're saying like he's still on board. We're not changing anything. We believe him. Blah blah blah, which is crazy. So like so far he hasn't really faced any kind of consequences. But like you said, I would be shocked if there wasn't some fallout from this.
This is, we talked a little bit about how this reminded me of Scooter Braun, and another person who this reminds me of is Nick Shea. I'm gonna butcher this man's name, but Shaymansky. Nick Shaymansky. He's the one who managed Amy Winehouse, and most recently Lola Young, when she had that moment when she passed out on stage. People were like, "Why is her management pushing her so hard?" And I think it's been tough for him too, because I feel like once you burn your brand in this business, it's incredibly tough to rebuild that and to rebuild trust and have people think, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to trust you with my artist. No, absolutely not. So I don't know if Wasserman is on my list for 2036.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how next year, because the industry is going to move. This is all like kind of behind the scenes insider trading stuff. So it'll be interesting to see like, if is there going to be pressure either from, say, Coachella to drop Wasserman, or is there going to be pressure on Coachella to not book Wasserman acts?
And who do they go to? Who does Coachella go to if they leave? Like if they're not with Wasserman?
Yeah,
is it going to go to UTA? Is it going to go to like? God, who do you think is going to take it?
Right. There's a lot. I think some of this will be some small agencies that are going to
get some. We talked about this earlier. I think you and I have said this on the podcast here, but like a lot of this time period, we hear the music industry is over. We hear hip hop is dying, but whenever something's ending, it's a great time for new players to come in. So as Wasserman is dissipating and falling apart, don't feel like, oh man, the industry's broken, can't get in. Feel like, oh man, the industry's broken. It's a perfect time for me to jump in.
Yeah, and like now's maybe a chance to like have some different kind of discussions about who the leadership is, what their associations are. Like maybe this is a time to get involved with more women-led organizations.
Yes, we had this conversation during the layoffs. You know, same situation. This is an opportunity for us to turn things around, bring in new blood, help us bring the music industry back to life, resuscitate ourselves.
Yeah, more queer person-led. Organizations.
A little more diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, so like
that'd be great.
So maybe we're not just relying on like filthy rich creepy dudes to like
and their sons
and their to guide our culture anymore.
That would be nice.
So I don't know, do you have any more conspiracies you want to throw in there
on Epstein? Not that I think are appropriate for our not that I think are very wholesome.
All right. So we're going to watch this story as it unfolds. But that's all we have for now.
Keep your eyes. Let me know if you've got a bet whether you think Wasserman makes it through the year.
Yeah, and then subscribe to us as we keep an eye on this.
Otherwise, how will you collect your bet?
How will you even know? Now that we've cleansed our palate by talking about Wasserman and Epstein, we are going to continue our deep dive into like billionaire backed bullshit, and we got another update on AI.
I like that.
So yeah, you do.
Artificial intelligence for us, a little AI hellscape for us.
We're back. We're back to, but
the AI bullshit is back.
But when I read this, I thought of you because
thank you.
Well, because you're I don't want to spoil it, but this is like you kind of prognosticated something that I think is coming true.
Oh, I'm ready. Hit me with this. I'm excited.
So Universal and Suno are in a PR battle over walled gardens in AI music. This is by Murray Stosson from Music Business Worldwide. So I've taken like I'm not going to read the whole thing. Like the last thing,
some excerpts,
some snippets of this. So there's going to be some names here, just some people's names, and I'm not going to dwell on like basically just like think. Anytime I say a name, if you hear it, I just think of them as like some big executive fame. Big fat.
I'll picture like a big white guy with like a suit,
pinstripe suit, suspenders,
the big tie, the banker tie,
the banker tie, the cigar chomping out of his mouth,
and of course the eye,
the monocle.
Yes.
All right. So here's a bemonocled person, Paul Sinclair, now the chief music officer of AI music firm Suno, penned a lengthy post-Grammy week LinkedIn memo. And already, like, once LinkedIn's involved, I'm already like asleep. Entitled "Open Studios, Not Walled Gardens," that takes direct aim at the approach championed by Universal Music Group. So this is like a twisty and turny thing. UMG settled with Udio, So this is Paul. This Suno has got this. This is a post from Suno, but now we're talking about Udio. UMG settled with Udio alongside a licensing deal for a new AI platform that's set to launch this year.
Yeah.
The concept of what they're calling, quote, a walled garden was introduced. This is a model where AI-generated music cannot be downloaded or distributed outside the platform. Udio disabled downloads, with users given a 48-hour grace period to retrieve previously created tracks before the walls went up. Warner Music Group followed with its own Udio settlement in November, implementing similar restrictions.
We talked about this when this happened.
Yeah.
We talked about UMG partnering with them, and we talked a little bit about like their content, them allowing Udio to train on their content, and how we were like, that could be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So then Warner, WMG, signed a separate deal with Suno. So back to Suno. I get these confused because I don't use either of them.
No.
So now Warner signed a separate deal with Suno later that month, but the terms were very different.
Yeah, Suno's the big player.
Suno retained much of its core functionality, including the ability for users to create songs and download them.
Mm-hmm.
This is a quote from somebody who I don't care about. The concept of a walled garden is to set up through AI a component of the service for deep interaction with the artists and the content, but not to create derivatives that you can then take off the platform and post all over your socials.
Yes.
And Spotify and Amazon and Apple Music. He said he argued that by doing so, quote, you quote, effectively use artists' content and their brand to create derivatives where you're going to compete with the artists on other platforms.
Correct.
Nash, which is our be-monocled cigar chomping wide tie. He's got the Cash Patel tie. Yeah. Characterized the walled garden approach as essential to protecting artists' interests, and pretty much confirmed that it was the deciding factor in why UMG has not reached a settlement with Suno.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then meanwhile, Paul Sinclair, who's somebody else, blah, 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 he's saying they're quoting for their open studios approach, which maintains creative freedom while still operating within licensed frameworks. So the anti-walled garden people, the open people, which is the Suno people, they're saying if we tried to lock music into closed systems over the last 25 years, we wouldn't have had streaming as we know it, which doesn't sound so bad when you say it to me.
You're like, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind missing this whole streaming era.
Wouldn't mind making a couple bucks a disc instead of a fraction of a penny. The world music library available in your pocket. We wouldn't have billions of people legally engaging with music. And whenever they talk about like legally engaging, I'm like, what the fuck do you even care about music? We couldn't have the expansion of
You mean listening?
Yeah.
You mean listening?
But they don't mean listening. That's the thing.
They mean technically legally engaging, which means like using music as a decoration for time.
Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about here. The quote continues, we wouldn't have the explosion of global genres, bedroom producers creating top 100 hits, or fans becoming creators in their own right. He's right about that. So to me, this looks like something that you kind of had predicted, where it's like, so we're going to get this world in which we're going to get to extend, we're going to get to like extend the work of our favorite artists.
Yeah, you can do like a new Tupac song with your verse on it.
Yeah.
You could do like, but you can't download it.
Which, okay, and this to me is where it falls apart.
Yeah, this is where the money goes away, I think. Well, I think this is where all the money goes away for the platform. Like, I'm not paying for that. Who's paying for that?
And yeah, right. They're like, I think they're imagining it as like music hobbyists, or like not even like music creators, but like mega fans of Gaga or whatever are gonna like go in and do it. But it's like, if you can't even share it with your friends,
isn't that kind of like what Cameo did almost? Like I feel like there's a bunch of services that kind of touch on this. Like, we'll do something for you in our app, but you can't take it out of the app.
Right. And it's never gonna, like, to me that seems like a big problem.
It feels like a fad.
Well, yeah.
It feels like a fad to me. It feels like something people will get on for like a short period of time and be like, oh my God, look at do you remember when they did this like a Japanese artist? He has a particular drawing style, and AI started making like a Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
Studio Ghibli. People were making for like a month.
Yeah.
For like maybe a month.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 weeks.
I'm going to Ghibliify myself. And it was like, okay,
and
cool.
everything was Ghibliified.
But here's the difference between like when everything when like that meme was that it was socially propagated.
Yeah.
They're saying you can go ahead and do this, but you can't even share
You can't even share it on your social media.
So who's gonna
propagate it?
Yeah.
No one.
So like how does that, what's the uptake on that, right?
So my question is then, does Suno, who's reached the deal with Warner Music Group,
which is the open distribution people,
do they then become the dominant player in this market, and then all the AI generated music has to go through Suno?
I think if you're thinking like if you're one of those people who's all up in our comments who are like, I'm an AI artist, because we do some nice hashtags where we bring you in.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, I love AI. I'm so creative because I can type a prompt into my computer. If that's you, you're going to go to Suno, right?
Yeah.
Because
at least you can download your content
and pretend that you're an artist and put it up on Spotify.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, but at the same time, I wonder then, because so far the only person who's reached a deal with Suno is Warner. So we don't have Sony. We don't have UMG. So there's a huge swath of music that's not going to be generatable via Suno.
And that's also like a defensive move too, because it's like, okay, so like you can kind of go play around with like essentially 1/3 of the popular artists. So like, so this is like, this ends up being a thing where someone's like, well, I don't know who's on. Like, I'm a fan of an artist who is on Sony and I want to go do it, but I can't because they don't have a license.
Exactly.
So then that's going to hurt Suno's whole thing too.
Yeah, that's going to be, or Udio's whole thing. Or both. It's going to hurt both.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what I think. I think honestly, the best case scenario would be for Warner to pull out of the deal with Suno.
We'd like that.
And I think honestly, if this is my positive take, I think the best case scenario for Udio is they stay like this, because they're kind of locked into their own world. I like that you can't download things, that you're kind of stuck on the platform.
Yeah.
So I think the best case scenario would be for Suno to lose their deal with Warner, and then for Udio to continue on their platform of like, you can listen to music on our website however you want it to sound, and that stays in its little siloed walled garden.
Yeah, I
doesn't
agree.
end up on our charts, doesn't end up influencing, doesn't spread. It can be there in its place to live.
Deezer isn't spending the inordinate amount of hours scrubbing your existence from their streaming service.
And we don't have AI music on our charts.
Exactly. Just meanwhile, just to discuss it, 11 Labs is also out here.
Yes, they are.
And
11 Labs, speech to text. 11 Labs has been killing the game.
Yeah, and they just got a big like a $500 million investment, or no, they raised $500 million.
I know 11 Labs made a deal to try to step into the music space, but I may be wrong, but I think 11 Labs has been more. I believe they initially entered the space doing things like audio recovery. So they initially entered the space doing like weird things, like kind of like, do you remember Adobe Firefly?
Which one was that?
Adobe Firefly was an online AI that Adobe put out that you could put audio into and it would remove any background noise.
Oh, okay.
And it was cool, but it was online. It was kind of like a plugin, but that only existed online, so you'd always have to go there.
Okay.
But it's free.
Yeah.
So it was a cool concept. And I think 11 Labs kind of started with that same, like, okay, you go to our website, we'll do something to your audio, and then we'll spit it back out and you can do what you want with it.
They are also like a player to watch in the music space.
Because
they're clearly getting investment as if they're going to move into the entertainment and music space.
I think so. They did start as like the AI voice generator, and now they're kind of like, they're expanding.
They have a ton of like production tools and just like audio production.
I know they're involved with Artlist as well, which is kind of like a Splice alternative, you know? So I think they've definitely like made a space for themselves.
Yeah.
But I'll be curious to see what happens and like how they can use because they're very much voice forward, right? They're all about changing your voice, making your voice sound like someone else's voice, translating words from your voice. That seems to be their little area where like maybe Suno and Udio, their area is generating instrumentals, generating full songs with vocals. This is pretty specific so far. But maybe that gives them an advantage
I think
in their journey to dominate the AI music
and
space.
what I'm hearing is they have a different technology portfolio, so they're going to have a slightly different approach.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be an interesting player.
Yeah, no, definitely someone to keep our eyes on and see what happens with 11 Labs.
Yeah. So there we go. There's your news. There's your walled garden.
There's your AI update.
Leave us a comment to let us know whether you think it like in the Suno versus Suno versus Udio thing, the walled garden versus the like specific platform. What do you think's gonna work?
Yeah, what's on your bingo card for 2026? Do you think they'll both be around? Do you think one is gonna go? Do you think one is gonna stay? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below.
And then, of course, when this new project launches this year, it's expected to launch this year, about this new Udio platform that they've been hyping. Of course, we are going to cover it. I might even make an account and use it. I don't promise that.
No,
I don't promise that.
Oh, you heard it here first.
I might even, not for me, but for you. All right, stick around. We've got Cameron's take it or leave it advice, which once again, because we talk occasionally, sometimes we talk before we produce.
Yes.
Sometimes we don't.
Once in a while.
We just jump in here and
we're ready to go.
But in this case, I know what's coming. You are going to want to stick around because it's really great take it or leave it advice.
It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, it is.
There's no water. AI's drank all the water for us.
Well, that's coming too. That's coming.
That's definitely on my bingo card.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 2026, but give it a couple years.
At least 3.
Yeah, that's
unless we get Greenland. Just melt all the ice. We're good.
Yeah. Do you think that's the plan? Is they think they're gonna just
get it all and just bring a big heater?
We need that water to power the next AI Britney Spears.
Grok needs the water.
Grok needs the water to non-consensually visualize naked women.
Everyone thought they were going to be drilling oil and they're drilling water.
Grok. Grok is thirsty, baby. Holy shit. The Wholesome Music Podcast moves on.
Yes.
Goddamn. Thank you all for joining us. As always, we do this every single motherfucking week. We are so happy to be doing this. If you want to get this all up in your ear holes or your face holes, the best thing to do is
subscribe on YouTube.
Yep. And
like the video. And
do the same on whatever podcast platform.
That's right. Leave 5 stars if you're listening on a podcast platform that's not Spotify, because fuck Spotify.
Yeah, because we're not there. And share this shit with your friends.
Let your friends know. We're trying to grow, so let your friends know.
Yeah, for real. Like, and like the hitting that like button really does matter.
It does help. It really does help. So definitely leave us a like. If you stuck all the way through to this point, make sure you leave us a like.
Yep. You owe it to us.
You do. So, we've earned it.
Because and I think just to solidify how kind we are to you by showing up in your feeds, by us choosing to do this. We do every single week something called the Take It or Leave It segment. We do it at the end because we really want to incentivize you to stay till the end,
so you can stay till you're right here.
Yeah, because that's really good for our algorithm.
It is. It's good. It's good for the retention.
But Cameron is gonna lay on you some really cool recording advice that you're gonna want to stick around for. So let's do it. Tell me that shit.
This week's Take It or Leave It advice is the most common mix issues.
I love this.
So as you know, I've received a lot of mixes in my life. The most common mix issue that I experience is, this is like the first thing, which is know your plugins. Don't just use presets. So I know it's really tempting to go into like your favorite reverb and just click large hall and just listen, be like, oh, it sounds great, done.
Yeah.
But if you go in and you adjust, your attack time, your release time, same thing with any plugin you work with. I know a lot of us, we talked about mastering today. We want to put the ozone on and just click auto master and it sounds great. Thumbs up. If you take the time to learn your plugins, learn what the settings do, and be able to really calculate, really make it work for you, I promise you'll have better mixes.
Yep. Amen.
Issue number two, and I see this with every single session, like 99.99% of sessions that come to me have this issue, and it is not busting your time-based effects. So if you don't know what a bus is, you don't know what a send is, it's when you take the audio from your main track and you send it. That's why we're calling it a send or a bus. You're sending it or you're
it's often called a bus.
Yeah, exactly. You're sending it to the bus. You're sending it to another auxiliary track. If you're in Pro Tools, it's sending it to an aux track. That aux track can be either, and this will take us into our extra advice, either stereo or mono. So if your source, let's just say you're trying to add reverb to your vocals. These are great vocals. This is the take. We want to have reverb. Cool. So we add the reverb right on the track. No, we don't. We create a send. We create an auxiliary track and send our main audio to that track. That can be a stereo track. We can send our mono vocal to the stereo track and get way more control, whether it's a reverb, whether it's a delay echo, whether it's reverb, whether it's delay, whether it's phaser, whatever you've got that's time-based, throw that and give yourself the extra control. So busing your time-based effects.
So wait, and there's I have a question for you.
Hit me with it.
Can you send more than one channel to a bus?
Absolutely. So you will save CPU.
Yeah.
So instead of putting all of these, let's say you've got like 5 vocals, right? You've got your main vocal, you've got your left, your right, and it's exactly. Instead of having that reverb plugin on each track, you can put the reverb, you can send every track to a reverb bus, to a reverb auxiliary track, and you can only have one instance instead of having 5 instances of
Valhalla going.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Your computer is going to love you.
Yeah. And there is a little bit of like, they talk about gluing the mix together.
Yeah. Because then you're keeping that consistency.
Yep.
So you're not using 5 slightly different versions of the same thing. You're using one.
Now it actually sounds like it was kind of performed in the same room.
It sounds cohesive. So it sounds the same.
Your ears really bounce off of this. Keep it going with number 3.
I got one more big thing for you because we talked about moving things from stereo to mono and keeping your tracks the same way they were when they started. The last really big piece of advice that I have for you, I think this is going to help anybody who's anywhere in mixing, and that's learning to communicate. So whether if you're like me and you're an engineer, learning to communicate with your clients. That means if your client is like, hey man, it sounds too thick. What do we do when it sounds too thick?
Yeah.
Means we're probably going to take out some of the low end, put a little high pass filter on it and cut out some of that ugly, noisy low end that they're hearing and saying, man, it just sounds too thick, bro. The whole mix too thick. Okay, cool. Let's thin out the low ends. Maybe it sounds...
Hey, what if I told you that my vocals were too horky?
If your vocals are too horky, I'm going to say, Augustus, tell me a little bit about what that means for you.
It's sometimes because my particular vocals, I think like rock vocals, but
sometimes the vocals can get a little horky.
Like a little nasally?
And it's not the performance, but like it's like just honk.
Oh, like the honkiness?
Honky.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then maybe we're going to use something to deal with some of those resonances.
Yeah.
To deal with some of those, like if you're really, immediately, what do I think of is a notch filter.
Yeah.
I think of subtractive EQ right away.
Yeah.
Like just pulling out whatever frequency you're hearing and using that term for and cleaning it up.
I wanted what if I said this track, I send you an acoustic guitar and I said, it's not bright enough.
Oh, immediately I'm going to boost the high end. Boost, probably not just like a shelf on the high end, but find those sweet spots. Listen through, pull out one band of EQ and search through until you hear that sound that you're like, ooh, that sounds good. That sweet spot. And that's what will make a nice wide boost for boost it up just a little bit. When I say just a little bit, not more than 5 dB.
Just one more example, because I think it's kind of fun. What if I said the drum sounded too far away?
The drums sound too far away. Well, do we have reverb on the drums already?
Yeah.
Because if we do, we're going to pull out the reverb because that reverb is pushing the sound back. It's making it feel like it's further away in the room. So if you want it to sound closer.
I'm like, I need these drums to be more forward.
Another thing we can do to make the drums sound more forward is, what do you think you would lose first?
What do you mean?
Like if the drums are furthest away, what are you not hearing the most of?
Right.
So oftentimes that's high-end information because low-end information travels the longest.
Further.
It's the largest waves. So if you want the drums to sound closer, the highest instrument is the hi-hats and the cymbals. So maybe I'm bringing a little bit more hi-hat up, makes it feel closer to you because it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm only hearing the low end, only hearing the kick and maybe the snare. Now you're hearing all the information. If you can make it sound crisp and clean, which is a bitch for hi-hats, but if you can, then you've got that drum sound that sounds close in your face and ready to go.
So I don't know about you all, but to me that sounded like 3 takes it or leave it.
Yes, it was.
So that's like the goddamn quality that we're giving you here.
We're out here. We've got advice for you to take.
Or leave.
That's
So
right.
thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you back at it next week. Stay warm, stay out
Safe.
Stay out of the Epstein files.
Oh, I was searching your name.
And we will see you next week
With the history of fucking microphones.